Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to speak with his US counterpart, Joe Biden, tomorrow, despite Mr. Biden's recent COVID-19 diagnosis. Now, this as fresh tensions flare over Taiwan. Beijing has threatened forceful measures if US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visits Taipei next month. CNA's Liu Xiong with this report.
Long simmering tensions over Taiwan have always been high on the agenda between the two superpowers. When Chinese President Xi Jinping spoke with his US counterpart Joe Biden during their last call in March, Mr. Xi had warned that some people in the US have sent a wrong signal to Taiwan independence forces, and mishandling of the issue would have a disruptive impact on bilateral ties. China considers Taiwan part of its territory and has not ruled out the use of force to bring it under its control.
一中原则得到充分认可和认真遵循时，台海就会保持风平浪静，否则就会阴云密布，甚至出现狂风暴雨。
But tensions have spiked ahead of the upcoming call between the two leaders. Beijing is fuming over a possible visit to Taiwan by US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Second in line to succeed the presidency, this would be the highest level visit by a US politician since 1997. China says the visit would be seen as a change in US policy, and its military has also warned it will not sit idly by and vowed to take strong measures. Observers noting this could lead to serious consequences.
While you can say both sides are not budging, certainly I think capabilities and political will have changed dramatically.
But despite a range of thorny issues beyond Taiwan, analysts say there's no reason for China not to engage with the US. Both sides have spoken about cooperation in areas like climate change. China's economy is also facing challenges, partly due to its strict dynamic zero-COVID policy. GDP grew just 0.4% in the second quarter from a year ago.
Even though, of course, China's economy is shifting to becoming more domestically driven, but still access to global markets is still important, and the U.S., of course, is one of the most important, if not the most important market. It is a source of capital. It is a source of technology partnership.
Both sides have been discussing a possible removal of U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods, although a decision is unlikely before the two leaders speak. Having the call go well is also of great political importance for Mr. Biden ahead of the midterm elections in November, where his party is facing off a resurgent Republican Party. And for Mr. Xi, ahead of a twice-a-decade party congress expected in the fall, where he's expected to be granted an unprecedented third term in power.
Xi wants to show to the U.S. that China will not compromise on those issues relating to China's core interest. But on the other side, I think Xi is also going to show to the world and to the Chinese people that he himself is ready for some compromises with the United States, to show some kind of flexibility and to handle the relationship better. But being too aggressive or being too soft, neither would serve the national interest well.
The call could also possibly pave the way for a face-to-face meeting between the two leaders later in the year. There's been speculation that the two leaders could potentially meet in person in November at the G20 Leaders Summit in Bali or the APEC meeting in Bangkok. Now, if President Xi does indeed attend these meetings, this could also possibly be his first overseas trip since the pandemic began more than 2 years ago, with a fresh mandate for a third term at the helm. Observers say it could also be a signal that China is ready to open up and relax some of the strict measures it has put in place under its zero-COVID policy. Liu Xiong, CNA, Beijing.
Well, that's the view from China. Let's head to the United States now and catch up with Simon Marks, who joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Simon, tensions ramping up between the United States and China again. The president knows this has got to be a delicate conversation or perhaps a tricky one at least. What does he hope to achieve from these talks, though?
Look, it's going to be a complicated conversation just by dint of the fact that the proposed trip to Taiwan by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, is kind of hanging like a sword of Damocles over the conversation. But the expectation here is that this is going to focus on a conversation about Taiwan, with the United States, of course, increasingly concerned that the Chinese have become increasingly assertive in their desire to kind of push things with Taiwan down the path of confrontation. The conversation will also focus on Ukraine pretty extensively. Remember that the United States has previously warned Beijing, and President Biden has previously warned President Xi directly not to provide any military materiel or meaningful support to the Russians as they prosecute their war in Ukraine. The Americans say that so far they have not seen any of that military equipment being transferred from China to Russia. But the president, I think, here will seek to underscore the message that there would be consequences if the United States saw that taking place. The other big question that's unresolved are the Trump-era tariffs in place against Chinese goods. The White House has hinted for months now that President Biden is thinking of alleviating and easing at least some of them. And every time he's asked if he's made a decision in the last couple of weeks, he said, well, I'm going to be talking to President Xi in a few days' time. So now that conversation about to occur, will that be the conversation in which President Biden reveals that he has made the decision to lift some of those Trump-era tariffs? We don't have a strong sense of that here yet.
And is there any chance, Simon, that Nancy Pelosi might just cancel this trip to Taiwan? I mean, what might push this decision over the edge?
Well, you would have to think that if President Biden picked up the phone and called Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and said, I don't want you to go, that she would then stand down from this plan, delayed since April, when, of course, she got COVID-19 and was unable to travel to Taipei, to resume the possibility of a journey to Taiwan. We already know that the Pentagon opposes the plan. President Biden disclosed that last week, saying that unnamed military officials believe that it is a bad idea, but he didn't disclose what his own personal viewpoint is about it. It's just worth underscoring, of course, that Nancy Pelosi won't confirm that she's planning to travel to Taiwan. She says she never discusses her travel plans because there are national security implications of putting that kind of information into the public domain. So the way is open for her to say, well, I was never really going to go anyway. But equally, currently, the way is open for her to travel there.
We'll see how it plays out. Simon, thank you very much for that. Simon Marks there.